Every villain has an origin story. Every monster has a maker. And right now, somewhere out there, the person who broke you is lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, finally understanding that they weren't just hurting you all those years ago. They were writing. They were authoring something, crafting something in the dark, without realizing their cruelty had a purpose, far beyond their petty intentions. They thought they were destroying you. They thought they were putting you in your place. They thought they were teaching you a lesson about how the world works, about how weak you were, about how you'd never amount to anything without their approval, their presence, their permission to exist. But they weren't teaching you anything. They were building you. Sentence by sentence, wound by wound, betrayal by betrayal. They were writing the origin story of something they have no idea how to face now. And the book just got delivered to their doorstep. Let's go back to the beginning, shall we? Back to when it all started. Back to that first moment when they chose to break you instead of build you. That first cut. That first lie. That first time they looked at you and decided you were safe to destroy because you wouldn't fight back, because you trusted them, because your heart was still open and soft and believing in things like loyalty and love and human decency. They saw that softness, and instead of protecting it, they exploited it. That first wound wasn't random. It wasn't accidental. It was calculated. Maybe not consciously, but somewhere in their twisted psychology, they knew exactly what they were doing. They were testing your limits, seeing how much you'd take, measuring how far they could push before you pushed back. And when you didn't push back, when you absorbed that first blow and kept loving them anyway, that's when they knew they had found their victim. That's when they decided you were the one they could break without consequence. But here's what they didn't understand about that first wound. It wasn't just damage. It was data. Your system started recording. Your subconscious started taking notes. Something deep inside you began documenting every micro-expression, every shift in tone, every subtle manipulation they thought was invisible. They thought they were getting away with it. They were actually providing you with training material. Chapter 1 wasn't your destruction. It was your enrollment. Welcome to the academy. They didn't know they were funding. Then came the isolation. Oh, this was their masterpiece of cruelty. They didn't just hurt you directly. They cut you off from everyone who might have helped. They whispered about you behind closed doors. They planted seeds of doubt in the minds of people who loved you. They created a narrative where you were the problem, the difficult one, the one who couldn't be trusted. And slowly, painfully, you watched your support system crumble. Friends stopped calling. Family started questioning. The people who should have protected you began looking at you with suspicion in their eyes because someone had been telling stories. Someone had been rewriting your reputation while you were too busy surviving to defend yourself. They isolated you because they knew isolated people are easier to control. Isolated people have no witnesses. Isolated people start doubting their own perception of reality because there's no one around to confirm that yes, what's happening to you is actually insane. But they made a critical miscalculation in Chapter 2. They thought isolation would weaken you. Instead, it taught you something invaluable. It taught you how to survive alone, how to be your own counsel, how to trust your own judgment when everyone else had been compromised, how to find strength in solitude that most people never develop because they've never been forced into the darkness without a flashlight. That isolation they engineered, It became your training ground for independence. They removed everyone so you'd collapse. Instead, you learned you were enough. You learned that the only validation you ever needed was the one you could give yourself. You learned to become your own witness, your own support system, your own army of one. Chapter 2 wasn't your loneliness. It was your liberation from needing anyone else to complete you. Now we get to the psychological warfare. The gaslighting. The moments when they made you question your own sanity. When they told you things didn't happen that definitely happened. When they flipped situations so expertly that you walked away apologizing for being hurt by their cruelty. You're too sensitive. That's not what I meant. You're remembering it wrong. Why do you always have to make things difficult? They rewrote reality in real time and expected you to accept the revision. They handed you a script that contradicted everything you'd witnessed with your own eyes and demanded you perform it with a smile. And for a while, maybe you did. Maybe you doubted yourself. Maybe you thought you were the crazy one. Maybe you spent nights trying to figure out how your perception could be so different from theirs, wondering if something was fundamentally broken in your brain. But something interesting happens when someone gaslights you long enough. Eventually, you stop trusting their reality completely. And in that void, you start building your own. You start paying closer attention to details because you can't afford to be wrong. You start documenting, recording, confirming. You develop what amounts to a forensic memory because your psychological survival depends on being able to prove to yourself that you're not insane. The gaslighting was supposed to make you compliant. It made you precise instead. Chapter 3 gave you the ability to detect lies from across a room, to see manipulation before the first move is complete, to trust your gut with religious conviction because your gut was the only thing that never lied to you when everyone else was reading from false scripts. They tried to make you doubt everything. They succeeded in making you certain of yourself in ways that now terrify them. Every origin story has that moment. The crucible, the breaking point. The scene where the future villain is pushed past every limit and something fundamental shifts inside them forever. Yours came too. That moment when they pushed too far, said the unsayable, did the unforgivable. That moment when something inside you that had been bending for years finally snapped. Not broke, snapped. There's a difference. Broken things fall apart. Snapped things release energy. In that moment, something in you died. The part of you that still hoped they would change. The part that still believed in their redemption. The part that kept extending grace to people who used it as toilet paper. That part died screaming in the dark, and you held its hand and let it go. But death is never just an ending. Death is transformation. And in the ashes of who you used to be, something else started rising. Something they definitely didn't intend to create. Something that looked at the world through different eyes. Colder eyes, clearer eyes. Eyes that could finally see people for what they actually were, instead of what you hoped they could be. Chapter 4 wasn't your end. It was your metamorphosis. The caterpillar didn't just grow wings, it dissolved completely inside the cocoon and reorganized into something capable of flight. That's what happened to you. They dissolved you, and you reorganized into something airborne. After the breaking point came the silence. And this is where they really lost the plot. This is where they stopped being able to track your character development because you went dark. No more reactions. No more explanations. No more trying to make them understand. No more defending yourself against accusations that were designed to be indefensible. You just stopped engaging, stopped explaining, stopped giving them the emotional responses they'd become addicted to, extracting from you. At first, they thought they'd won. They thought your silence was surrender. They mistook your absence for defeat. They celebrated among themselves, convinced they'd finally broken you completely. But your silence wasn't surrender. Your silence was construction. While they were busy congratulating themselves, you were rebuilding, quietly, systematically, brick by brick. You were constructing something inside yourself that they wouldn't see until it was too late to do anything about it. You were taking every lesson they'd taught you about human nature, every pattern you'd identified in their abuse, every skill you'd developed just to survive them, and you were integrating it all into a new operating system. Chapter 5 looked like defeat from the outside. On the inside, it was your montage scene, the part of the movie where the hero trains in secret, gets stronger in shadows, prepares for a confrontation the enemy doesn't know is coming, and then you emerged. Not with an announcement, not with fanfare, not with some dramatic revenge plot that would give them the satisfaction of being central to your story. No, you emerged simply by becoming undeniable. You started winning in ways they couldn't explain, succeeding in areas they told you you'd fail, attracting people who actually valued you, building things that actually mattered, becoming someone that actually commanded respect without demanding it. And they noticed. Oh, they noticed. At first they tried to minimize it. Lucky break. It won't last. Same old them, just better packaging. They told themselves stories to explain away what they were witnessing because the alternative was too disturbing to accept. But you kept going, kept growing, kept evolving, and the evidence became impossible to dismiss. You weren't just surviving what they did to you, you were thriving because of it. Every weapon they'd forged against you had been melted down and recast into armor. Every poison they'd fed you had been metabolized into power. Chapter 6 was when they started getting scared. When they realized their little victim had become something they didn't recognize. When they understood that the story they thought they were writing had developed a mind of its own and was now writing back. And now we arrive at the present. At the moment they finally put it all together. At the chapter where the author realizes the monster they've been narrating into existence is standing right behind them. It happened recently, didn't it? Maybe they saw you somewhere. Maybe they heard about you from someone. Maybe they stumbled across evidence of your new life online. Maybe they just felt it, the way prey feels predator eyes on the back of their neck. And in that moment, the full horror of what they'd done crystallized in their mind. They didn't break you. They built you. Every cruel word was a brick. Every betrayal was mortar. Every isolation, every gaslighting session, every moment they tried to diminish you was actually material for the fortress you now inhabit. They wrote your villain origin story, and they didn't even know they were holding the pen. And now they have to live in a world that contains what they created. They have to exist knowing that somewhere out there, walking around with their fingerprints all over its creation, is something that shouldn't exist. Something that survived conditions designed to be unsurvivable. Something that transmuted poison into power right in front of them while they were too arrogant to notice. Here's the beautiful irony of it all. They can't take credit for what you've become, because that would mean admitting what they did. They can't claim they made you strong, because they'd have to confess they tried to make you weak. They're stuck in this impossible position where the evidence of their abuse is walking around being undeniable, and they can't even complain about it without exposing themselves. Every success you have is a reminder of their failure to destroy you. Every milestone you reach is evidence of their impotence. Every time you win, they lose again, and there's nothing they can do about it, because doing anything would require acknowledging the story they wrote. They created you, and now they have to watch you exist. Have to witness you succeed, have to observe from whatever distance you've put between you as you become everything they said you'd never be. And the worst part for them? You're not even thinking about them anymore. That's the final twist in the story. The villain they created has moved on to bigger plots, has found larger purposes, has become so much more than a reaction to their small cruelty. You've transcended the origin story entirely. While they're still stuck in the chapter where they were relevant, you're writing sequels they'll never be part of. They wanted to be your ending. They became your beginning. And now they have to live with the knowledge that somewhere, something they broke is walking around unbroken. Something they tried to silence is speaking louder than ever. Something they tried to make small has become too large to ignore. You know what the most terrifying thing about origin stories is? They're just the beginning. Whatever you are now, you're still becoming, still evolving. Still integrating lessons and growing capabilities and developing in directions they couldn't possibly predict. The story they accidentally authored isn't finished. It's barely started. And every chapter from here on out will be written by you, not them. They lost creative control the moment you survived Chapter 4. They lost the rights to your narrative the second you emerged from the silence with something new in your eyes. Now they're just minor characters in a story that's grown far beyond their imagination. Footnotes in an epic they'll never understand. So let them watch. Let them wonder. Let them lie awake at night, replaying every cruel thing they did, and finally understanding that they weren't breaking you down. They were breaking you open, creating space for something larger to grow. Making room for power they don't have the vocabulary to describe. Every villain has an origin story, and yours was written by someone who had no idea they were creating the very thing that would haunt them forever. Not through revenge, not through confrontation, not through anything as small as the games they play. No. You haunt them simply by existing. Simply by thriving, simply by being the living proof that everything they did was either meaningless or worse, instrumental in creating something they now have to fear. They wanted to write your tragedy. They wrote their own instead. And the book is still open. The pages are still turning. The story is still unfolding. But one thing is certain now, certain in ways that keep them up at night. Certain in ways that make them check their locks and watch their backs and wonder if karma has a physical address. The person who broke you just found out what they actually created, and they'll spend the rest of their lives wishing they'd written a different story.
Look at you. Just take a good hard look at yourself in the mirror. You're drowning, aren't you? You're drowning in a sea of your own feelings, thrashing around, gasping for air, while the waves of your own mind crash over you again and again. It is pathetic, really. You call yourself a man, you call yourself an adult, but inside you are nothing but a frightened child, scared of the dark corners of your own head. You let a little bit of anger, a little bit of sadness dictate your entire life. You wake up and you check your feelings like you check the weather, waiting to see if today is going to be a good day or a bad day, as if you have no say in the matter. You have handed over the keys to your kingdom to a chaotic storm that doesn't care if you live or die. You think this is normal. You think this is just how humans are built. You tell yourself that feeling this deeply makes you real, makes you authentic. But let me tell you the cold, hard truth that nobody else has the guts to tell you. It makes you a slave. It makes you weak. While you are busy crying over what went wrong or screaming at the sky because life isn't fair, the real masters of this world are walking right past you. They are taking what is theirs. They are building empires while you are building a cage out of your own emotions. But I am not here to just insult you. I am here to wake you up. I am here to show you that there is a way out of this prison, but you have to be willing to bleed for it. We are talking about mastery today, not just control, not just suppressing a tear when you want to cry. I am talking about total, absolute dominion over your soul. Master your emotions. It sounds nice, doesn't it? It sounds peaceful. But let me warn you, the path to mastery is violent. It is a war waged inside your skull. And most people, the weak ones, the ones you see walking around like zombies, they lost that war a long time ago. You see, emotions are biological. They are chemical signals meant to keep you alive in the Stone Age. Fear was meant to make you run from a tiger. Anger was meant to help you fight a rival. But you are not in the jungle anymore, kid. You are in a concrete jungle, and those same instincts that used to save you are now destroying you. When you get angry at a comment, when you get depressed because of a failure, that is your primitive brain hijacking your potential. You are letting a glitch in the system run the whole machine. Imagine this. Imagine walking through a fire and not feeling the heat. Imagine standing in the middle of a hurricane and being the only thing that isn't moving. That is what mastery looks like. It is not about becoming a robot. Robots don't have power because robots don't have a choice. You have a choice. Mastery is feeling the rage, feeling it boil in your gut, feeling it beg you to scream and break something, and then staring it down into silence. It is looking that anger in the eye and saying, I own you. You don't own me. You have been told that you should express yourself, that you should let it all out. What a lie. What a convenient lie designed to keep you small. When you vomit your emotions all over everyone, you are leaking energy. You are giving away your power. Think about the most dangerous person you know. Is it the guy screaming and shouting and throwing a tantrum? No. It is the guy sitting in the corner, silent, watching, calculating. You can't read him. You don't know if he is happy or sad or ready to kill. That is power. That is mastery. When you master your emotions, you become a ghost. You become untouchable. But how do you do it? How do you take this mess inside you and turn it into steel? You have to stop identifying with the feeling. You have to realize that you are not the anger. You are the observer of the anger. It is a subtle shift, but it changes everything. When the sadness comes, instead of saying, I am sad, you say, I am experiencing sadness. You create a distance. You create a gap. And in that gap, you find your freedom. In that gap, you can choose. You can choose to use the anger as fuel. You can take that burning rage and channel it into your work, into your body, into your ambition. You can take that crushing sadness and use it to build a wall so high that nothing can ever hurt you again. This is alchemy. This is magic. You are taking the poison that life feeds you, and you are turning it into medicine. But don't think for a second that this is easy. The world will try to break you. People will try to push your buttons because they want to bring you down to their level. They want to see you react. They want to see you cry. It makes them feel better about their own lack of control. But when you master yourself, you stop reacting. You stop dancing to their tune. They will scream at you and you will smile. They will try to hurt you and you will look at them with eyes of ice. And that is when they will start to fear you, because they will realize that they have no power over you anymore. To master your emotions is to kill the part of you that needs validation. You are still looking for a pat on the head, aren't you? You want mommy and daddy and the world to tell you that you are a good boy. That is why you get so emotional. That is why you crumble when they criticize you. You have to kill that need. You have to strangle it with your own bare hands. You need to reach a point where praise and insults sound exactly the same to you. Just noise. Just wind blowing against a mountain. The mountain does not care about the wind. The mountain just stands. This is a lonely road. I will tell you that right now. When you stop playing the emotional games that everyone else plays, you will find yourself standing alone. You will look at people and see them for what they are, puppets on strings, jerked around by their chemical impulses. You will see them falling in love, falling apart, getting offended, getting excited, and it will all look like a circus to you. You will be the ring master. You will be the one watching from the shadows, knowing that you can step in and take control whenever you want. But often, you won't even bother, because you are playing a bigger game. You are playing for legacy. You are playing for destiny, and destiny does not have time for your feelings. Do you think the great conquerors of history stopped to cry about their feelings? Do you think the people who built the world sat around feeling sorry for themselves? No. They felt the pain. They felt the fear, and they swallowed it. They ate it. They used it to fuel their hunger. You need to become a predator of your own mind. When a negative thought enters your territory, you hunt it down and you kill it. You don't negotiate with it. You don't analyze it. You end it. This is the discipline of the gods, to feel everything but to show nothing, to be a burning star on the inside but a cold void on the outside. It drives people crazy. They will wonder what you are thinking. They will wonder what you are planning. And while they are busy wondering, while they are busy gossiping and feeling, you will be winning. You will be miles ahead of them because you didn't waste a single ounce of energy on drama. You have to understand that your emotions are a weapon. If you leave a loaded gun lying around, someone is going to get hurt, and it is usually going to be you. But if you pick up that gun, if you learn how to aim it, if you learn when to pull the trigger and when to keep the safety on, then you become dangerous. You become a force of nature. Use your anger to destroy obstacles. Use your fear to sharpen your senses. Use your sadness to understand the human condition so you can manipulate it. Nothing is wasted. Every tear, every scream, every moment of despair is just raw material waiting for you to forge it into something useful. The world is not kind to the soft. It chews them up and spits them out. Look around you. Look at the broken people. They are the ones who followed their hearts without taking their brains with them. They are the ones who let their feelings drive the car, and they drove it right off a cliff. Don't be another statistic. Don't be another casualty of your own biology. Rise above it. Transcend it. It requires a level of arrogance. Yes, you have to believe that you are better than your programming. You have to believe that you are the king of your own internal world. When you sit in silence, you must govern your mind like a tyrant. No unauthorized thoughts, no unauthorized feelings. Absolute order absolute control. It is a dictatorship inside your head, and you are the dictator. And let me tell you about the peace that comes with this. It is not the peace of sleeping. It is the peace of a sword resting in its sheath. It is a heavy, dangerous peace. You know what you are capable of. You know that you could unleash hell if you wanted to, but you choose not to. That is true virtue. Being harmless is not a virtue. Being harmless is just being weak, being a monster who has learned to control himself. That is mastery. That is what we are aiming for. So stop whining. Stop complaining about how hard it is. Of course, it is hard. It is supposed to be hard. That is why so few people do it. That is why the top is so empty, because everyone else is down at the bottom, crying in a puddle of their own making. Climb out of the filth. Wash yourself off. Put on your armor. The world is waiting for you to show up, but it doesn't want the fragile version of you. It wants the master. You have a choice to make tonight. You can close this video and go back to being a victim. You can go back to letting every little wind blow you over. You can continue to be a leaf in the storm. Or you can decide right here, right now, that you are the storm. You can decide that from this moment forward, nothing gets in unless you invite it in. No emotion takes the wheel unless you give it permission. It will be a daily battle. You will fail. You will slip. The beast inside you will try to break the chains, but every time it does, you tighten your grip, you stare it down again, you remind it who is in charge. Over time, the beast stops fighting. It learns its place. It learns that you are the alpha, and that is when you become free. True freedom is not doing whatever you feel like. True freedom is not being a slave to what you feel like. Take this seriously. Your life depends on it. Your future depends on it. The version of you that achieves your dreams is not the emotional wreck you are today. The version of you that wins is the one who has mastered the art of detachment. The one who can walk through hell with a smile. The one who can look at the chaos and laugh. So go ahead. Let them cry. Let them scream. Let them be human. You are going to be something more. You are going to be something better. You are going to be the master. And when you are standing on top of the world, looking down at the mess everyone else is in, you will realize that the pain of discipline was worth every single second. Control your mind, or it will control you. Master your emotions, or they will master you. The game is simple, but the stakes are infinite. Now, get up, dry your eyes, and go take what is yours, because the world doesn't give handouts to the weak. It only bows to the masters. But let's go deeper. You think mastery is just about holding back tears or clenching your jaw when you are angry. No, that is just the surface level. That is kindergarten stuff. Real mastery is when you can detach so completely that you can watch your own life like it is a movie. You are sitting in the theater, eating popcorn, watching the character that looks like you go through hell, and you are not panicked. You are analyzing. You are critiquing the performance. You are thinking about the next scene while everyone else is screaming about the current one. This is the level of separation that makes you dangerous. This is the level where you stop being human and start being a force of nature. They will call you cold. They will say you have changed. They will look at you with confusion because you don't laugh at their stupid jokes anymore, and you don't join in on their pity parties. Good, let them be confused. Wolves do not concern themselves with the opinions of sheep. You see, most people bond over weakness. sadness. They sit around in circles and trade stories about how hard their lives are, validating each other's victimhood. It is a cult of misery, and the moment you stop playing that game, the moment you stop seeking comfort and start seeking power, you become a threat to them. Your silence insults them. Your calm makes them feel their own chaos. You have to be willing to walk through the fire alone. There is no one holding your hand on this path. The higher you climb, the colder the air gets, and the fewer people you will find. But the view, oh, the view is worth it. When you are up there, looking down at the ant hill of society, watching people scurry around in panic over things that don't matter, you will feel a sense of clarity that is almost intoxicating. You will see the strings on the puppets. You will see exactly how fear is used to sell them things, how anger is used to control their votes, how sadness is used to keep them docile, and you will smile because none of those strings are attached to you anymore. You have cut them. You are free. But understand this. This freedom comes with a price. You have to kill the part of you that wants to be saved. There is a little child inside you still waiting for a hero to swoop in and fix everything. You have to take that child out back and put it out of its misery. You are the hero. You are the villain. You are the savior and the destroyer. It is all you. If you fall, no one is coming to pick you up. If you break, no one is coming to glue you back together. That realization terrifies the weak, but it empowers the master. It means you have total responsibility, and total responsibility equals total power. Think about the time you waste feeling sorry for yourself. Think about the hours, the days, the years you have lost drowning in regret. Regret is a ghost. It is a memory of a time that doesn't exist anymore. Guilt is a chain. It ties you to a past you cannot change. The master lives in the eternal now. He looks at his mistakes, extracts the lesson, and discards the emotion. He doesn't carry the baggage. He travels light. He moves fast. While you are there crying over spilled milk, he has already bought the cow. That is the difference. It is speed. It is efficiency. It is the ruthless elimination of anything that slows you down. You need to treat your energy like gold. Every time you get angry at a traffic jam, you are throwing gold into the sewer. Every time you get upset over a rude comment on the internet, you are burning your own resources. Stop it. Hoard your energy. Keep it locked inside. Building pressure, building intensity. Use it to work out. Use it to build your business. Use it to sharpen your mind. Let the pressure build until you are a walking bomb. But you are the only one with the detonator. That is presence. That is why when a master walks into a room, everyone feels it. He doesn't have to say a word. The energy coming off him is palpable. It is the energy of a man who is in complete control of his own nuclear reactor. So, I ask you again, are you ready to let go of the drama? Are you ready to stop being the main character in a tragedy and start being the director of a conquest? It is time to harden your heart, not to become evil, but to become strong. A soft heart is a target. A guarded heart is a fortress. You decide who gets in. You decide who stays out. And for most people, the drawbridge stays up. You protect your peace with violence if you have to. You protect your mind with a shield of absolute indifference to the chaos of the world. This is the end of the old you. The fragile you, the one who breaks. Say goodbye to him. Bury him. The person who walks away from this video is a machine of pure will. You feel pain, but you use it. You feel fear, but you ride it. You feel anger, but you aim it. You are the master of the storm, the ruler of the void, and the king of your own soul. The world is going to try to test you. It is going to throw everything it has at you to see if you are really about this life. And when it does, you are not going to flinch. You are not going to blink. You are just going to look back at it with those cold, dead, focused eyes and whisper, "Try harder," because you have mastered your emotions. And once you have done that, there is nothing left in this universe that can stop you.